you so much for joining us. My name is Gurwara. I'm your host for this wonderful afternoon and of course a day-long grand celebration. 2 years of Sony Live 2.0. Come on everybody, a round of applause. Taaliyan to banti hain. So wonderful of all of you to join us today. Members of the media, friends, partners, well-wishers, thank you so much for being here. Wow. We are of course a land of diverse cultures, rich history, stories from all over that have been told, and a lot of them yet to be told. But all that is changing, with Sony Live 2.0 bringing stories from contemporary India, such as Avrod, Andekhi, Rocket Boys, Scam 1992, the Harshad Mehta story, and so much more that we're excited that's going to come in the future. And we're glad you are here to share it all and celebrate it all with us. As we mark 2 years of Sony Live 2.0, we would like to take this moment, everybody, to say a heartfelt thank you. To express our gratitude for bringing your stories to us and becoming a part of our ever-evolving, ever-continuing landscape of stories. So thank you so much, everybody. But at this juncture, without much further ado, I would like to welcome our eminent guest and moderator to shed light on the changing landscape taking Indian stories to the world. To begin with, may I introduce our moderator for this wonderful session that is going to happen right now, Mr. Rajiv Masan, film critic, journalist, and now COO, Dharma Cornerstone. He's somebody who over the years has brought us incredibly insightful conversations into the craft of filmmaking. Welcome, Rajiv. Thank you so much for being here. We have an eminent set of panelists with us in alphabetical order. May I please invite them on stage. Ashwiny TIWARI, known for her critically acclaimed strong human stories, Banga, Bareli Ki Barfi, Nilbati Sarnata, and many more. We have the dynamic Danish Khan, head of Sony Live, Sony Entertainment Television and Studio Next. Divisionary Hansal MEHTA, National Award-winning director, who in a career spanning nearly 3 decades has brought us spectacular storytelling gems like Aligarh, Scam 1992, City Lights, Shahid, and more. We have the wonderful Nikkhil Advani, National Award-winning director, producer, and screenwriter, and one of the co-founders at MA Entertainment. His projects like Rocket Boys, D-Day, Butler House, Airlift have enthralled audiences worldwide. Brilliant actor, producer, and entrepreneur Rana Daggubati is here with us, a creative force who has empowered multiple film industries. His studio has produced more than 175 films and released over 2,000 films. And we have the wonderful Mr. Nair, CEO of Applause Entertainment, a media and entertainment industry pioneer. He built Applause Entertainment into a powerhouse of content and storytelling. A round of applause for our panel, please, and fantastic discussion that is to follow. A humble request to our friends seated. May I request you all to please remain seated if you have any questions to ask later on. We have cameras recording the session, and आजकल क्या होता है जब स्टेज पर कुछ चल रहा होता है and someone stands up तो विल स्मिथ की बड़ी याद आती है, तो please remain seated. Thank you. But on that note, Rajiv, I hand the panel over to you. Good luck and thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Folks, welcome. I'm going to repeat what Anuj already said. Folks, welcome. Well, this is an in-person live session of Creators Roundtable. Although we have several roundtables, I usually tend to have one. We're here, of course, to celebrate the 2nd anniversary of the all-new revamped Sony Live, which of course in June 2020 repositioned itself as a digital-first original streaming platform. They've had big successes like Scam 1992, the Harshad Mehta story, Maharani, Gullab, Rocket Boys, and Tabbar, among others. And of course, their success can be gauged from the fact that they went from 0.8 million subscribers when they relaunched to 18.2 million subscribers in only 2 years. I'm told that going forward, Sony Live is committed to bring stories from contemporary Indian history and that they will launch originals in Tamil, Telugu and Malayalam. We've got a great panel of guests. We have creators who already actually made very successful shows, Nikkhil and Hansal, for the platform. We've got Rana and Ashwiny who have shows in the works that are going to be out. And of course we have the tastemakers, the gatekeepers who are responsible for the material that we watch. So this promises to be a fun session. Gentlemen, lovely lady, you know, the volume of original series and shows that drops every month on streaming is staggering, of course. And if you, of course, consider just how many platforms there are, it's a crowded space. Each of you, of course, is vying for attention and eyeballs amid stiff competition. To Hansal and Nikkhil, I want to ask you, what was the moment, because your shows have, of course, already come out, what was the moment at which you knew that your shows had broken out of the clutter, had kind of landed? Was there a moment where you knew that Rocket Boys scam had gone, was a hit, if you like? I mean, in films, it tends to be your opening numbers, you don't have that. What was that specific moment where you knew that the show had cut through the clutter?
I think that when Mr. Danish calls up. So you wait for him to call, you're on tenterhooks, and then you just wait, and then the call could go either way, right? But I think with Rocket Boys, I think with kind of the support, encouragement that we got from right get-go from, I think when Danish and Ashish and Shaugatul heard the broad story, they knew that there's something, we all knew there's something special. We just didn't know that people would embrace Dr. Homi Baba and Dr. Sarabhai with such favor. Yeah.
Our show released during the lockdown. You know, in the thick of the lockdown, we made all the post-production was done at that time. So we were seeing, you know, things unfolding. When the show released, we were still busy delivering the show. You know, so Sameer and I were just talking about how we had a drink in the parking lot of Sony while the episodes were still being cooked and delivered. So, but I think the weekend after the show came out, you know, the lockdown had eased up a bit, and Pratik Gandhi suddenly could not move around freely. You know, that was a sign that, you know, that suddenly it's captured people's imaginations, and I was receiving this unprecedented amount of love from peers and people I did not know at all, people I had never interacted with. You know, in my 20-25 years in the industry, I had never interacted with these people. There was a lot of love coming our way. So I think, you know, it feels very satisfying that your weekend numbers don't necessarily decide the amount of love you get. You know, so it felt better because it was far more subjective and it was not, you know, subjected to any kind of such quantitative scrutiny.
Danish, Sameer, when do you know you have a hit?
Unfortunately, my job is to figure it out just before, you know, it is released. Because otherwise, it really doesn't matter. So, I think the first sense you get when there are two broad times when you see a film. You know, if you're part of a PPM, I'm generally not, you know. But the part, sometimes if I'm part of a PPM of the show, it gives you the first sign. Because when a person speaks about a show, the way they imagine, especially the director or the key imaginator, I think that's when you know it's going in the right direction. And many times, like the applause show, for example, Scam, we get to see the first episode. Okay, the first episode is when you get a feel of it. But if I have to talk about Rocket Boys and Scam, I think I bet before I saw anything.
We were, you know, it was a peculiar show, Scam. It was produced by a Sony company for applause and then streamed on a Sony platform. And somewhere Danish met us, again, one of those parking lot conversations. He said, this is a game changer. And he believed in the show more than we did at that time. our conviction was that, we've done something good, but let's get it over with. Let's deliver it now. To whoever, whichever the platform is. We did not know who the platform was. Danish had other ideas. And Sameer.
The first phone call I made after NP told me that you have to lead Sony Live was to Sameer. If you remember, in the afternoon I called him and said I want to scam any which way. Saying, okay, I think he was not committing, huh?
Actually, I think, we knew we were making it fine. I think to that extent, it was new, it was different, and also there was none of the rules and regulations that came up later. They weren't there at the time, so we were feeling a lot more independent and brave about things, which we don't feel so much now. But I think for me the moment was when the first promo hit it. And the Sony team designed this really terrific promo, asking the question, who is Ashwiny? Right? And with that, it sort of really took off from that moment. And the amount of marketing and push and excitement that happened. And then once the show came out, at that time Sony was a much smaller platform, and the show took off. And then later in the weeks and months that passed, the number of people who've seen Sony, it belies their numbers. So when they said they got to 80 million in 2 years, I'm thinking like, well, 180 million saw that. So what happened to the numbers? So I think in a combination of the telecom and the piracy and all of that, so I think, another good sign of success is a heavy degree of piracy. That you're not able to see it, so you find any way to see it. So I mean...
Ashwiny and Rana, where are you at your respective shows? At what stage? Ashwiny, you're of course making a show called Fadu, and Rana, your company's produced a show called The Case Files of Hemant Rao. Sorry. Can you also tell us a little bit about the shows and also what stage they're at?
So hi, good afternoon. So Rajiv, I think Case Files of Hemant Rao was, I have to give due credit to Madhura Sridhar, who's here working with Sony as the South Head. He's pushed my office much faster than I would have pushed them to get that on floors. We've been a film company for about 50 years now, and our mind still is a 3-hour storytelling mind. And I just completed filming another show for another network. I think we've now just been progressing in understanding what long format writing means. Because we didn't live through a premium moment of television either, where television made stuff which was much more premium. But so I think it's we just started. We're done with writing. We're closer into pre-prod, so we get into filming very, very soon.
Okay. You want to tell us a little bit about the show, though?
It's set around the world of, says from the title, it's Case Files of Hemant Rao. It sets around in that dystopian world of Hemant Rao in that case. It's also been made by a very senior cinematographer called Advan, who's on board building that.
Looking forward. Ashwini?
Fadu is an intense love story. It is completely Danish and his team's vision. When 2 years back when I got this call, like Sameer and Hansal, what they were saying is that most of the stories which happen in an intense, just on-the-spot moment, and there is no severe planning, there is no major discussion, there is no rounds of presentations, it just happens on a phone call, and with a 2-line idea, and then it happens, says that, okay, do you want to make this? I think there's something really nice in this. And I do feel that stories happen like that, it just happens so impulsively without having too many discussions, and faith. The most important part about this show, Fadu, is purely Danish's faith in this story, because it's kind of little different. We have seen something like this maybe in the West, but having two character-driven, driving a story, and purely written on a screenplay, where most people, it's written beautifully by a writer called Soumya Joshi, who's also a poet. It's his first time as a screenplay writer. So he himself was, understanding between stage drama writing to writing a screenplay. And on paper, most of them who saw it was like, how are we going to show this? Therefore I would purely go with Danish's conviction, saying that here is the story and just go have fun with it. And I think that's where we are. Mostly all creators are always very judgmental about their work. Until the time it doesn't come on air or it is released in a theatre, we are always thinking, is it good, is it bad? We have lost judgment of our own work. Till the time someone comes and says, you know what, there's something nice about it, and just go with the flow. So this is what is happening. So we, I think, have edited about 6 episodes. And
they're waiting for you to come back from holiday to complete the rest of it.
I didn't come back from a holiday. I was on work on another production, which was supposedly directed by my husband. So it's we are co-producing that. So yeah, I was partly on a holiday. So yeah, so we finished about 5 episodes. This is a long one. And he goes with his conviction, saying that we have to have so many episodes. And it's a poetic love story, so it's very musical. And what I really liked is that I wanted a certain kind of musician. I wanted Santosh Narayan from the south, and he has not done any music here. So this will be his debut, but Danish allowed me to go ahead. So that intensity and that let's be available for the creators all the time is what Fadu is all about. Yeah.
Danish, they speak very highly of you, of course. You're this enabler, this empowerer. I feel you're the right person to ask this question. And Samir, maybe you can also answer this. What is the difference, and maybe others would, everyone in the room will have a take on this. What is the difference between a great show and a good show?
Very difficult question. Actually, see, I'll tell you, and this is not my line. There is a gentleman, Ritesh Modi, in our studio next team, and he tells this always, that there are lines written, and cinema is what comes between that lines. The director brings it. Okay, so when you read a script, you generally choose good script, right? Nobody chooses bad script.
Which is what they think is a good script.
Yeah, good script. But the showrunner, the maker, between the lines, what it comes. And we have seen scenes narrated to us and seen, once it's shot, between the director, the actor, the DOP, the technician, I think, and the music director, the magic comes. Okay. So I think that is where the good becomes great. Okay. It's subject per se or a script per se guarantee you good. Okay, the great always comes from the guy who drives that process, the director. Yeah.
Well put. Samir, do you have a different take on this? You agree? Rana, as someone who's first an actor and then a producer, of course, a creator, how have original series liberated you, empowered you perhaps, in a way that allows you to do things that traditional film doesn't? I ask you both as an actor and as a creator.
First, I think just in terms of how we engage with a certain piece of content or with certain characters, cinema you come with a different sense of writing because everything needs to get completed within those 3 hours. You're introduced, your conflict, your end is there. And you're writing to a gallery that has to react at certain moments, right? So there's only a few definitive ways we can get out there. But I think a show really opens that up. It opens you up to writing drama to the fullest, exploring your characters to the fullest, or even otherwise exploring that world to the fullest. And I think we've just seen the early times in terms of where shows have been. I mean, films have been around for 100 years now, and that skill of writing or making films is around for a long time. I think now it's that first nascent stage that everyone's learning, and it's much faster that India will take a global moment in the OTT world rather than the film world, because it makes that much more easier for storytelling with that form.
I'm going to come to that, but I want to ask before Nikkhil, Ashwiny, and Hansal, because all of you continue to direct films as well, does this require a different muscle? Does this require you to flex a different muscle when you're conceiving and developing long-form stories?
I don't know about flexing a different muscle. Yes, you need to spend more time, but that's also the joy of long format. That you get to live with your characters longer, you get to develop them longer, and you're not necessarily, at least at this stage, you're not limited by the confines of a formula. You know, you feel encouraged and liberated enough to try new things, to work with an ideal cast. You know, where I mean, I did not have to make Scam 1992 with Abhishek Bachchan. You know, I could make it with a Pratik Gandhi, and that was the freedom that this format gave me. You know, so I think it has liberated me, freed me more than anything else. And yeah, but it takes, I mean, it's a time-consuming process, and filmmaking is a different joy altogether. It's just that, I mean, now the possibilities are so many, and there's so much that we are able to do now. There's never been a better time for a filmmaker or a creator. I think, I mean, I'm feeling like this is perhaps one of the most creatively satisfying phases in the last, 25, 26 years that I've been telling stories, making films.
I do feel that the creative journey and the process is far more intense. Your research work and how you look at it's about not shooting 2 hours of film, 2 hours 15 minutes, but it is about 6 hours, 7 hours, depending on how many episodes you have. Even if you have one episode, which is about 35-40 minutes, then you calculate that into 8 episodes or 9 episodes, or sometimes even 10 or 11. So that's a kind of intensity which is needed. And also you choose wisely, you schedule wisely, and you also plan your shoot wisely. For instance, that maybe you would not want to have 2 cameras when you're doing a feature film, but when you are doing a series, you would definitely want to have 2 camera setup. So when you're having 2 camera setup, then you need to have a little different perspective in how you shoot, is because it's not very easy to shoot 2 cameras when you're having one close and one wide. And then you do not know, where to look. Do you look at the wide angle or do you look at the close? And is the close always has to be put in a perspective which may not be an ideal situation. So then you again need to shoot. So planning is the most important thing, and I think is important for a web series. But the creative satisfaction, because you do not have song and dance, and you can explore music. You can explore the intensity of the music. You can explore cinematography, which is really good, is because I'm not worried that on a screen how my visuals are going to look, because in theaters my visual elements are always going to look different in every theater I go to. But on a mobile phone or on a pad or on a TV, I can adjust it according to what I feel is correct. So, visual cinematography, especially in our country, I can explore that much nicer. And yes, one of the most important things is that I can choose the actors whom I want to work with, and I can tell a narrative according to what I feel is correct for the story, than working vice versa. So it is beautiful to see actors getting into characters than reverse. Yeah.
Nikkhil? Well, yeah, I think Hansal and Ashwiny have both covered it. So I think briefly, it's I think film is sprint, and long form really OTT is marathon. So it's just the way you are approaching, the training, right? I mean, Mo Farah trains very differently from Usain Bolt, right? So it's very, very different in that sense. You have to, and the level of concentration and the level of stamina and the level of how to keep over, like Ashwini said, over 8 episode this thing. But I just want to take the opportunity in the sense, considering that most of us are all working with various other platforms also. It's not very simple. It's not that simple. There are two gentlemen on this panel that empower you with. That's the reason why we are here. Hansal has done scam. I mean, when he did scam and I saw it, I said, he's going to get sued by everybody. Right? But these two gentlemen said, no, we'll take them on. You know, so I know because I have done Rocket Boys with Danish and I've done and Sid and I've done, and we're going to do a Freedom at Midnight. The question is just make it authentic, make it authentic. Who tells you to make it authentic?
Which I've told before also, but because I've worked with Danish for more than, and his team for about 12, 13 years now, from Sony Entertainment Television to Sony Live. It's just that, like I said before, that creators are always in doubt. We are always in doubt about whatever we do. So when I showed him the first episode of Fadu, I was looking for reaction because I just couldn't judge. It's okay, it's nice, what it is. And that reaction comes from a business mind. It doesn't come from a creative mind. It's because you can judge till a certain extent, but then आप कितने पानी में हो वो सिर्फ वो बता सकते हैं. And then the liberty, like Nikkhil was saying, the creative liberty to say, okay, you believe in it, go ahead and do it. The parking space conversations is what makes it. Because beyond a point, I just would not understand numbers. I just wouldn't want to know कि आपके PPT ने क्या बोला. Yes, it's important. But after that, I think it's important कि आपको अंदर से क्या लग रहा है. What do you feel from the heart? If you're feeling from the heart and your gut says, go ahead, make the story and let's see what happens. That let's see what happens is what they need to take care of. Because that cannot happen from us.
I mean, just to add, I think it's been a long time since I've heard, मेरी भाभी की बेटी को बहुत पसंद है. I think the people that you are working with in OTT have read as much as you've read, have seen the kind of cinema that you've seen, have lived the kind of so it's very, very liberating in that sense because now you're finally sitting with people across the table, and when they're telling you, you don't need this scene. I say, oh, okay, let me think about it. Yeah, they are right. You don't need this, you don't need this, all this is there. And I think the most important thing, and that's the reason why it's called the Bible, is the Bible. So when a platform or when a creator, Sameer, Danish, this Bible, take time on the Bible. Because that's going to be your guiding light.
I want to touch upon something that Hansal and Ashwiny said. It's true, one of the greatest things that came out of this sort of streaming revolution is the fact that, or the discovery that you could mount epic, ambitious shows and it didn't matter who was sort of top-lining it as a face. And Pratik Gandhi and in Scam, of course, and maybe Jyoti Palawat in Patalok and Ishwak, who was also in Rocket Boys. I mean, these are the great examples of that. But isn't it true? I think if you all honestly admit it, isn't it true that the general word of the street is that the streamers are also now slowly starting to think like the traditional film studios? Can we scale this up? Who's in it? Is that something that you all have been hearing?
Rajiv is asking, as CEO of Dharma on the story.
We do hear that.
You want me to take that?
Yes, please.
See, one is I think that myth is dying in the movie business itself. Today, if you watch the films that have taken that route of being pan-Indian films, it stars that none of them in the Hindi auditorium ever knew. But it's the business that will not let you do it the other way around. You would want to face in some manner and need names because that's how traditionally business has been moving. But as an auditorium, they never ever wanted a star unless, I'm saying, take for example the biggest one, KGF that landed. How many of you all knew Prashant or Yash before KGF won? How many of you all knew Prabhas Surmi before Bahubali won? I mean, we just looked the part. So I think the OTT world has taken that forward, and I think you all shouldn't ever go into the direction that film has gone in. That's a suggestion for somebody who's been in the movies for a long time.
I'll just twist your question. The time when you have mainstream actors calling you and asking you that, what are you creating next? And would there be an opportunity to work? doesn't matter what it is and how it is. I think that's where we feel that because it's pure storytelling. When you are telling stories on an app, it's pure storytelling and it's without any kind of filtration. So the best of best actors want to be there, apart from everything which they get, but they still are actors at the end of the day who want to tell good stories. So when that happens, then it is not the who and who as cornerstone, Dharma, but it is about these characters, actors playing characters. Yeah.
Danish, Sameer?
Nobody listens to me on casting, huh? I must tell you, we are working with a bunch of makers who don't listen to us on casting, and we have now stopped giving any advice on that.
You know what, this is of course, it's often discussed and spoken about, and the fact that, the whole streaming revolution has brought so many new faces, so much more talent, and put them center stage, and it's true, because it's a genuine opportunity. It's like, I've always compared movies to the national cricket team, so only 11 people make it, and then television, for whatever it's worth, has been domestic cricket. So streaming is like the IPL, where you get to come and start your stuff, play alongside with international players and do good stuff, and you shine. But this, like this, typically in our business, we tend to go to extremes. So it is now all that is junk, and this is the solution. So now we will never cast anyone of note or famous because we can make do with unknown people each time. I think it always takes two hands to clap. It all depends on the material. It depends on conviction from the streamers. Credit must go to Danish many times for being able to take these chances, to take these decisions, to back them up, to continue to do that. So I think it's a combination. I don't think it's neither right or wrong. It's a thing about finding the right fit, finding the right match. One problem that does arise in all of this is that at the end of the day we are showbiz, which is show and biz. So the biz part of it becomes very complicated. So oftentimes when you're working with serious A-list talent, film A-list talent, then the math doesn't add up. So I mean, maybe the viewership adds up, maybe the performance adds up, maybe the acting chops add up, but then the price doesn't add up. So, I mean, it's just that kind of thing. But I think, everything finds its level. I mean, you see it in the West all the time, that you have, very, very fine actors who are doing streaming series. And, along with film, including directors, all of them. So I think that water will find its level. But I don't think it would be right to say that, as in
There's also another thing is that there's no better joy for a director to see actors do really well. So because when they go back and say, an actor performed in his or her story and they are doing well right now, that's pure joy. Because then we okay, we were part of their existence and now they are thriving. So also actors like to work with good directors and good storytellers. But there's also one thing, just to add what Sameer was saying, is that sometimes what happens is that if you get a complete newcomer, and this is a little experience, it's like, how many people, how will it reach to so many people? So what happens if you get a face, then it's like how many followers do you have on Instagram and what is going to happen? I've had questions where, how many followers does this person have? And will it reach the right? So basically we have to work extra hard to say, there's a show, we have to come. I don't know, this is my point of view, they may be,
and it works both ways.
They are the best to
because
answer
there is
this.
something to be said for face value.
Of course.
There is something to be said for an initial draw. I mean,
Yeah.
these are terms that have been used before, and there is something to be said for it. I think, even with the movies, what happens, this is a conversation I've picked up recently, where people are saying that your price should be linked to your opening weekend. Maybe that's a good idea, and maybe that makes sense, But the thing is that at the end of the day, there is something of a marketing pull and immediate draw, but it's got to be finally backed up by the content. Because I think audiences, because they've been exposed to so much content and so much good content, and they've seen content from South India and North India and international and Korean and all of them, that their audiences have become better.
It's also I think reaching a point where we will have a fine balance, whether it is new actors, stars, all embracing interesting characters and embracing stories that they believe in. And I think that's where films long format, everything needs to go there. That we do things that we believe in and not things that we feel that we are driven to do because of factors beyond the story, beyond the correct fit. So you choose the person who fits that category. Rudra, I don't know if anybody other than Ajay Devgan would have been the right fit for that kind of a show, for that kind of an adaptation. You take those decisions based on various things, and you free yourself from saying that if you take Pratik Gandhi, you won't have a box office. If you take Ajay Devgan as Harshad Mehta, maybe you'll have a box office opening. You free yourself from those equations.
I was just look at the numbers generally, and I'm only talking about our experience. First thing is that we have not got the opportunity to work with A-lister film. There is a discussion with Rana. I don't know whether it's raised him, but not because we think that, or the director think that he's the perfect for that. So it's not about the star, it is about the actor. Okay, and the way I see it, 5 years, 6 years from now, the pull will come from showrunner. Okay, like if you look at Shonda Rhimes' show, I would like to watch. Okay, I think 5 years from now in India, it will be a Hansal show, I'll watch. It's a Nikkhil ADVANI show, I'll watch. It's Ashwiny TIWARI shows, I'll watch. So my sense is that the OTT will create, I hope they don't become very star and unaccessible, that's a different thing from business point of view, but the point is that the hero of OTT is storyteller. The actors are there, the technicians are there, but at the core of it, there is 150 to 200 minute content on cinema. It's a closed, dark room. You prepaid before watching the movie. You you buy the ticket before you watch, and then you consume the entire thing, and you're looking at a magic. This you're discovering. Every 5 minutes you can change your remote and go back to something else. Okay, it is storytellers. I would say craftsmanship to hold you there with the skip button, this button, that button. The point is that the story is key, and the storyteller is going to be the key driver. That's my, that's the thing that we believe.
To all of you, what is the trick to telling an authentically Indian story, but one that can still appeal to a diverse and potentially global audience? I mean, how soon before we have, a money heist or Squid Game, before we produce it?
I mean, it's two parts to the question. One is what is that will take us to global audiences? Is if we can tell our stories extremely locally, things that happen in different corners of the country, which is new to the world or which is very unique to us. That's the first direction. The second is India is really a land of stories with the greatest mythologies ever written, and they've been written at scale that puts Game of Thrones to shame, really, in that sense. So I think there'll be 2 or 3 directions that will automatically take our directions to, because it's our culture that we're representing, and it's if it's a money heist, let's rob stuff the way Indians will rob it, and not that way. It'll still be our culture and our ethic that will make that story what it is. So that's,
I think conviction. Our conviction is going to take us global. How convinced, how audacious we are with our conviction. With the most local of stories. The story can be set in Santa Cruz East, for all I care. But with the conviction and the uniqueness of the narrative, of the story, and the power of storytelling is going to take us global. The moment we try to make the next Crown, we are aping the West, and we are falling into a trap. So we have this conversation that we can't make something like the Crown because we don't have that kind of money. But they cannot make a scam. They don't have those kind of stories. So I think we should take pride in our stories, tell them with conviction. And see what is happening to RRR right now. I mean, every critic worth his salt in the US is discovering it, and the adjectives. New Yorker, those adjectives, I mean, you need to look up a dictionary to understand some of them. But that is, what conviction does.
I think it is about being real, and it is about being rooted. We are a country of like so many stories at every corner, and when we start telling ourselves that let's make a story which will look like this, which will feel like this, you cannot make a European film in here. Our film has to be our film. So the Basti of Europe will look very different, and the Basti of Mumbai or anywhere, even in Chennai or any place, is going to look very different. So it's very important to stay true to our culture, our stories. The reason why Korean cinema has a rage here, including my mother. She watches it. She doesn't understand anything, but she's curious to know what happens there. I also believe that emotions are the same everywhere across the world. So you laugh, cry, you anger, all these 9 emotions are the same. It's just that the way it is shown is different. And curiosity and entering into a culture and understanding in a day and age where there are subtitles, there is language voices in the language you choose. It's important to understand the story in that way and not be like someone. But yes, we can always up our technical skills, true to our essence, but at the end of the day, it is about being rooted to what we have. And I kind of always believe in that is because when I made Nilbati Sannada,